Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Raw and Real. It's 10 o'clock here where I'm standing right now on the West Coast. Pierre's, what time is it for you?
We have 1 p.m. and a gorgeous afternoon.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that for you. I know you were excited for the weather to get just a little bit better. It's
Mhm.
10:02. You're here at Raw and Real. Thank you for joining us. We're going to really start our presentation about 10:02 this morning. Just give folks a few minutes to sign in. We're really glad to have you here with us. In the meantime, let me give you some links that'll be a little bit helpful. Uh, Here you are at Raw and Real. For those of you who are interested in live captions, if you want to take that link, you can follow along in your browser. Stacey, thank you for being here with us today, doing live captions on the side to support. Want to make sure you have that. Also, if you got an email right before this episode, there should be a link in the email that came about 15 minutes before this episode started. So that'll happen for you. You can find it in there as well. We're just going to start in a couple of minutes. You are welcome to ask us questions at any time during the show. And if we don't answer them while we're doing our show today, we will pick them up and answer them at the end. So please, we love questions. We want to know what you're going through. We go through this because we think that a lot of people have asked us like how Honeycomb helps Honeycomb build, develop, and maintain software and stay reliable and resilient and keep our customers happy. So that's really why Raw and Real exists. We show our dog food, we show our thinking, and we try and give just a little tidbit that we hope will help you in your process. Um, all right, it's 10:02. There's the captions for everybody. Again, you can ask questions at any time and they'll pop through. I'm here today with Pierre, and oh, here we go. You know what? I think I like this slide better. Let's do that. We're talking today about building better builds, how Honeycomb uses observability in the CI/CD process to verify code behavior, to know when things were deployed and how users are impacted, and just how to have pain-free releases and build better code from the start. Pierre Tessier, welcome to
Hello.
Run Real. I'm glad to have you here today. How you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling energized. I'm good. Um, I'm ready to show people some cool stuff, really.
That
Is that coffee good?
fantastic. Yeah, my coffee's good. I'm still catching up with you just a little bit here. Pierre, can you give me just a like 30-second what's your background in software and how'd you get to Honeycomb?
I have been in software in the kind of data intelligence and the monitoring space since 2000. Been doing this for a while. I've been around those trying to do monitoring and observability. I've worked for quasi other competitors, people mostly in the metric space. And I joined Honeycomb actually recently, earlier this year, because looking at Honeycomb, and I realized that that's where I wanted to be. We do it right here, or at least I feel like we try to do it right. But what I like most about us is how we are just so raw about things. We really just tell it as it is, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate that too. I want you to tell me how something is. What I understand is that the build pipeline can be a tedious monster of a place. What is it like to deploy software, build and deploy software without observability?
It's like pushing a button, closing your eyes, and hoping it works. It's it's like maybe doing it's being hopeful, right? Builds, a lot of things happen. Get dependencies, make sure it tests work, uh, deploy it over here, grab other artifacts, put it all together and push. But during the course of all that stuff, if something goes wrong, how do you know? If it's taking too long, how do you know? Is a 2 hour build okay? Is a 2 minute build okay? Those are the things that you don't know if you're not looking at your builds. And um, as we get to microservices, as we continue this journey down CI/CD, as we continue down this journey of agile methodologies, understanding your builds is very important, and very few organizations, if any, do it.
Gotcha. Let's get right into it then. You've got a story for me today about something that we improved recently. Could you tell me what's going on here?
Yeah, let me share my screen first and show you what this is.
Okay.
Grab that. There we go. So we're looking inside of dog food right now of
Mm-hmm.
Honeycomb.
Okay.
This is us. For those who don't know, dog food is the Honeycomb platform that Honeycomb uses to look at the Honeycomb service. This is how we actually observe the Honeycomb service. And part of the Honeycomb service is a page known as the admin page that Honeycomb employees use. If you go on our little chat bubble inside of Honeycomb and you chat up Molly from customer success or somebody else, she will likely need to go to the admin page to understand what's going on with your tenant inside of Honeycomb. So the admin page, unfortunately, is a place that everybody cringes to go to because you can see here with the load times, 20 seconds, 25, 30 seconds, even 60-second load time. These are not uncommon for the admin page.
Okay.
And it would happen. And people are, oh, great, I got to go to the admin page. Nobody wants to do it. So we're looking at 10 days worth of data. And what I want to do here is I want to turn on deployment markers. So these are all these vertical lines that you see here. These are every time we deploy code for Honeycomb
Oh my
that we've done in
gosh.
this 10 weeks. And we do a lot of deploys, right? Or it feels good.
I mean, that's several times a day, right? I hear that's
Several
hard.
times a day. You hear us talk about it. Well, here's kind of the proof in the pudding, right?
Okay, so the markers are every time a deploy has happened in this time series, in this amount of time. Okay. All right, that makes sense.
So you can see here we got some Thursday deploys going on. We deploy on Fridays, sometimes even on Sundays.
Right. As we need.
Point is you should not be scared to deploy. And if you are observing your deployment or your build pipeline, you're even less scared to do so because you know what's going on and you can even be alerted when things are happening. What I want to do is I want to zoom in on the time where we went from really slow to really fast, just to kind of focus in on that a little bit here. And we'll come back. And now you'll see all those markers became kind of windows. And those are actually the windows of time that it takes for us to refresh a fleet with new software.
Okay.
And you could see here that this one right here was the last time we seen a high time. After that, they all got really, really low. And it was this deploy 201534. And we could even link back to the actual build pipeline itself. So in this case here, it's Circle CI, but you can see what happened inside this build and you can see some steps of what's going on. It's kind of handy and useful.
Okay, so it looks like to me that Ian owns this, but anybody can go in here and look and see what happened. You're not dependent on just one person because you can see it. Do I have that right?
You've got that very correct.
Okay,
so
awesome.
So Ian owns this deploy, though it was actually Nathan who wrote the code. I think Ian was the one who committed the changes into master there for us.
Okay.
And we can actually see. So Nathan, my colleague, he opted to, I'm going to go ahead and take this on. So he clicked on one of those traces and says, why is this slow? And it didn't take him more than probably 3 seconds to say, oh, this is why it's slow, right? This is what observability in your application gives you. It allows you to see these things very, very quickly. So he went from a heat map to a trace. He looked at the long one and said, okay, well, we're spending 16.5 seconds just doing this select statement alone. Took a look at the select statement, which is down here. And, we're a startup, Kelly, but we have tech debt. The moment you write software, the moment you commit that software, it's become tech debt, right? And that happens.
Okay.
How he fixed this was by removing a lot of stuff on that page that we no longer needed anymore because we had other tools. We had other ways to get that same information in a more efficient manner. So Nathan went in, removed a bunch of stuff, got rid of all the tech debt that we had, and he turned 20-second load times into 4 or 5 second load times. And
did he have to ask 15 people before he removed that stuff?
He kind of made a post out, says, I'm looking to remove these sections, took a screenshot of the page and shared it with us. And everybody gave him thumbs up because we didn't use it anymore. There was one area that we noted where to find the other information and in different means that was better for us anyhow. And it was a I think it was a single kind of Slack message that lasted about 30 minutes and before he went off and did his thing.
Okay.
But yeah, it was, it's great because it's one of those stories where we use observability to understand the app. We talk about tech debt a lot of times, and we removed it, and then everybody got happy, and we've seen it happen. But this is about observing your app. And the only thing I'm doing about builds here is I'm showing you the build windows, right? And I'm showing how you can link back in. I got more cooler stuff to talk to you about in this area. And I want to talk to you about our journey of building better builds.
Yes, please.
A while ago, we noticed our builds were taking time. And we decided to throw some instrumentation in there and look at them. So before that, you run a build and build spit out all kinds of log lines to console, and we're scrolling through them. And you're like, oh my goodness, was that right? And at the end of the day, you're saying, was that appropriate? But you don't have any real context or graphical way to get that. So we decided to instrument our builds. And if you think about what that is if you think about what a build is, it's you kick something off, it does a thing, and it can kick off multiple things at once. Maybe you're doing your tests, you're doing some lint stuff, and then you're doing some actual compiles, and then finally you're going off and you're deploying some artifacts that you've compiled up. You can actually take that and change that model and represent it as a distributed trace, like we see right here.
Right there, right in the tool. You just click through and there it is.
And there it is. And that's one. I could go click on the other ones here and show that each build is different, right? So this is vastly different looking than what we just looked at before.
Okay.
So we did this.
Wow, yeah.
And we started looking at the data. And we started saying, where are we spending the times in our builds? And we said, okay, well, go test, Poodle build. This is our front end. This is our back end. We're doing tests on the back end here. And we looked at it and we said, yeah, okay, it's normal. So we did nothing. And sometimes doing nothing is an okay decision to do. We decided our builds were normal. Now, however, we had telemetry about our builds. So I want to fast forward. This actually took place a long, long time ago, right? This is back in 2018. I'm going to fast forward a year.
Okay.
So a year goes by, and now we have telemetry on the builds. And by the way, I am looking at 12 months of data right here. Okay. So we're clear. It's June 21st, 2018 to 2019. So last year's data. And you could see the overall build times are, generally speaking, they're increasing. Okay.
Okay.
Now what? Well, because we're instrumenting the builds, we could do stuff with this. We could say, hey, I want you to take this information and I want you to break this down by different steps in the build. And this is what we have here. And this is where it starts getting really interesting. So the same time window, but now we're just looking at this as different steps. And when I can hover over go tests are getting longer. Poodle build is kind of flat. Yeah, some more test. I don't know what that is. Poodle, this is JavaScript. And normally when we think of JavaScript, I just wave my hands up in the air and I maybe I'll curl up in a ball and hide somewhere. It's JavaScript, right? But it allowed us to understand what was going on with our builds and where we were spending time with our builds. And this is, it allows us to go in there and say, can we make this better now, right? We were looking at the traces. Things are getting slower. We're getting down to like 3, 4, 5 minutes now. So we started to investigate what it is in our builds that is happening. And it turns out that the build system we were using, and nothing's wrong with it. It was a good, fine build system. Just our needs were changing. And it was a very sequential build system based on VMs. So we did move to a different build system. And that build system looks more like this, right? So a lot more kind of variability and everything there. Each step was still taking the same time or longer, but this build system uses containers instead. So this is actually that first years of data. It kind of stops right here. And this is the following year of data. So now I'm coming all the way up to June 1st of this year. Please don't mind this. Somebody slipped up and nobody paid attention, and we had a small little boo-boo there, but
Okay.
Don't mind that.
That happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere. Just nobody paid attention for about a month.
Okay.
But you see here, our builds kept on climbing, and clearly we changed build systems, and we have all this crazy variability. Well, that variability is because the new build system is containers, and it allows us to run a lot of tasks in parallel. So with that, we can then not have to worry about individual things taking too long. So before Go test was taking forever on us, and it was causing everything else to slow down, as well as occasionally the yarn stuff. So I'm just going to come here. I'm just going to click on one of these random dots in the middle of that. And if you didn't know, Kelly, clicking on a heat map in Honeycomb brings you to a trace. Love it.
Yep, right there.
So
you don't lose any time. You can stay in the thought in your moment. That's what I really appreciate.
And what I like about that is you don't search for traces. You're like, oh, which one do I want? Like, click on the one you want. You could see which one you want in a chart. Click on that one.
Okay.
So here, like this one here's our Go test. Our Go test is run in parallel now. So we're doing a lot more of simultaneous things at once. And our Go test can literally become 4 times longer before we would have to be concerned with it pushing over our entire build.
Okay.
And this is part of what we got and captured by instrumenting our build. So in every step of our build pipeline now, we send a span to Honeycomb. We now get this. We can now watch this, and we actually have the SLOs now on this as well. And we can sit here and say, do we need to work on an aspect of our build? Do we need to work on another aspect of our build? Do we need to do something else or look at it? So this is what I love about all this. We kind of took all these different things. We took what we knew about distributed tracing. We took that model, that mental model, and we applied it to a delivery build pipeline. And it works really well. And with that, you now have rich information. You can use Honeycomb with this rich information and do everything you need to do. So you see here, deploy is the only step that depends on everything else to complete. So once everything else is completed, let me probably collapse this up a little bit. So once we have all these other steps completed, we go ahead and do the deploy, but we can run all these steps together. And that's what's great about it, right? So it's taking that model though of a build pipeline and putting it inside of observability. Now we did go into a little bit more detail on how we did this. We even blogged about it, we tweeted about it, and we also made a presentation about it last year at KubeCon.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's actually for everyone watching this webcast today. Attachments come with these shows, and I have a link to Ben Hartshorn, senior engineer Ben Hartshorn's talk at KubeCon last year, where he goes in depth about builds. So you can get that and get more into the story. So
yeah, and to cover the real highlight there, it's builds are effectively, I don't want to dumb them down because they do a lot more than just this, but they're running a lot of bash commands, right? This is what they do. Mm-hmm. So we took that concept and we just said, well, you could kind of wrap every step with a bash wrapper, or we wrote a Golang wrapper for them. And as we executed each step now, we were just issuing, we were starting a trace, or I'm sorry, starting a span into Honeycomb. And when that step is finished, we would close off the span with whatever information we needed. And then from that, we now have this beautiful picture. So kind of really ingenious when you just sit down and say, how do we make this better? Distributed tracing. So, that's kind of what I wanted to show and focus on and highlight and chat about here. It's when all these things, when we talk about doing better systems and being better at observing, it's not just your application that we have to matter and care about. Sometimes it's observing the systems and the tooling that supports our application as well. And certainly as we continue to do more deploys, you've seen Honeycomb, for example, when I come back to this screen over here, and when I looked at it the day prior, we do a lot of deploys. And because of this, we needed to understand our builds. Organizations are all going down that path as well. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, really.
Since you're in here, let me ask you about this. Like this change on our admin page, what was the effect that we saw as a result of it working better?
Happy employees.
Happy employees. I mean, I know it helped Molly and Irving on the customer success team. Can you tell me a little bit about how that might help them?
Say you call in, and we did a recent pricing change, and a lot of people, were concerned about, were they over usage? How can they reduce their usage? So we have to understand what is their actual usage day to day, even down to which data sets are getting all the events. And sometimes we have to adjust those limits as well. Maybe you're saying, hey, we want to send more data to you. We want to up our commitment to Honeycomb or reduce it. That's an admin page function, and it's the only way we could get there to do it. So, or it could be other times where you just send us a note on Honeycomb pollinators. We have your email address. That doesn't tell us much more. We need to know which team you belong to. That's the admin page. We got to go to the admin page to go find that information. So it's looking up associating emails to teams or vice versa, and it's understanding limits that are imposed on all these teams, and if we need to adjust those limits based on usage.
Gotcha. And I can see also about how being able to really dig into what's happening to users, what's happening to specific users can also help the engineering team overall make improvements based on what they're going through, because we can see it. Let me ask you this question, and you can use Honeycomb to show me this or not. I miss seeing your face. So you're welcome to come back. What can you tell me about how getting observability into your build pipeline, the instrumentation process for that, is that hard?
It's a bash script. So I wanted to say there's two things you should be doing first off. When we're talking about getting observability into your pipeline. The first one is put the deploy markers down on your screens. These are important, right? You need to know when you do a deploy. And so do your other users. So definitely putting these deploy markers onto your main area inside of Honeycomb is important. We have a CLI to do this. We call it Honey Marker. It's really easy to use inside of a build pipeline. And we're even going to talk about that with another vendor at a different webinar tomorrow.
Oh,
the
great.
second part, however, is instrumenting the actual build pipeline itself to generate the tracing data. That's a little tiny bit more work because you need to put a command before and after every single step in your build pipeline. You want to do this in a wrapper command. That's what we did. If you watch Ben's presentation, he will actually tell you what the code looks like and give it to you. It's really not that difficult at all. But that would be how we would want you to approach that. So it takes a little bit more. It's a lot, you got to get in there and you got to get into the mindset. And of course, every time you build a new build pipeline, you got to add the instrumentation to it. But at the end of the day, you're going to be thankful you did that. Because if you're spending 6 minutes of build, that's compute money you're spending to build, when you could really be doing 3-minute builds. So if you could cut your compute costs in half for your builds, that's significant cost savings by just doing the instrumentation once.
It sounds like a really good best practice. It reminds me of professional restaurants have to produce very high quality at scale for a lot of people in a short amount of time. And one of the easiest things they can do to help communication across their team is label everything in the fridge with what it is and the date, because not everybody sees everything the same. So I can see how that best practice of just leaving good information for yourself where your teammates can find it, setting deploy markers, these breadcrumbs helps the whole team kind of come together. Okay, what did I learn today? Today I learned that using markers in your build pipeline can show where deploys happen, which is really important for understanding how changes can affect code behavior in your system. Did I get that right?
That is absolutely true.
Okay, awesome. I also understand that in this scenario that you taught me with the admin page, I understand that coming up on tech debt or even talking about tech debt on Teams can be really hard conversations. It can be really awkward conversations. Who owns it? Who does it? Why is it still here? Legacy things that you're like, oh, we're just going to sweep it over here. And with observability, it seems like you can understand how it's going to affect your systems, and it makes it much less scary and much easier to manage. Did I learn that right?
You
Yeah.
did learn that right.
Okay.
With I think having a good culture in your team as well, where open communication is fine. Sometimes tech debt is like, it was something that somebody wrote and it was their baby from a long time ago, and then they're really proud of it. Well, do we still need that thing that you're really proud of?
And if you can see how it's behaving, you can make a data-driven decision about whether or not you keep it as is, you improve it now, do you improve it later, or is this part of a section like this is behaving just fine for now, all of these other situations are going on, and we can evaluate that when we're making bigger changes, for example. You can see it so you can make better decisions.
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Okay. I can also see how, like, I mean, you're just showing us one little example of where some time that it takes, some latency in the admin page kind of makes it a pain in the butt on our team. But at scale, you're talking about major costs to the business. And when you can have that insight and imagine all of these like efficiencies and optimizations at scale, you're talking about more reliable software and a better experience for your customers. So I can see how this is really, really important.
Yeah, like I want to hit back on a better experience for customers. If every time you hit up Molly or Irving in customer success for a question about what's going on with your team or whatever it is, and if it takes them an extra 30 seconds to a minute to get your answer versus getting it in 10 seconds, that's our customers who have a better experience because we made this change, even though the change only affects internal employees.
Gotcha.
It's
All
things
right.
like that, right? For sure.
Okay, so with observability in the build pipeline, we can build faster, we have more flexibility, and more people can know overall, so there's more autonomy in the process. Pierre, that's our time for today. I was going to wrap it up. Do you have any words of wisdom for the folks at home?
Instrument everything. Everything. I really mean it. I insert the fans on my server at home. Like
label everything in the fridge. It'll make everything easier. Just put a sticky note on everything. And that's what this feels like. Breadcrumbs everywhere really just helps kind of lift everybody up and bring us all together to make it all better. Yeah. Cool. Let me just show you guys a little bit of wrap up here. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Nothing awkward is happening here. If you have any more questions, you know where to find us. You can reach out to team@honeycomb.io. For those of you listening right now, actually listening anytime, you can catch this on demand later. So you'll get an email with a link to be able to see this on demand at any time. If this episode helps you, please pass it along to your colleagues and peers. And then you can fill out the survey that we have up and running. What really helps us is knowing what you would like to learn. A lot of the topics we've covered so far are things that people have asked us to dig into, or it's questions that our engineers find themselves answering all the time. And our goal is to break it down and help everybody. So if you write into the survey, there's a box for like what else you would like to learn, and we'll cover it. We'll break it down into smaller chunks because I want everybody's life in engineering to be better. You can check us out if you're still new to Honeycomb. As you know, you can play with us in our sandbox scenario at play.honeycomb.io. And if you haven't yet signed up for a trial, you can do it that way. We also have a free plan. So if you're still kind of wondering if you're ready to get on the train, come play around yourself, and we'll see you that way. Pierre, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
This is fun. Love this.
You like that?
Yeah.
You think you'll come back and do another one?
Maybe. Of course I will.
Okay. All right. I'll see if I can talk you into it. Thank you so much, everybody. We're so glad to have you and look forward to hearing from you. Have a great rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye.